On the cutting edge of anomaly research, you are about to experience The Evidence with your host, 3D pioneer and image analyst with Mars X3D, E.W. Gannett.
Hi there, and welcome to episode number 127 of The Evidence. This is your buddy Dave over at Mars X3D. And you know, I'm still getting questions like this one. Why are there two images side by side? Folks, this is an X3D channel. If you're not already familiar with that, there's a link down below that'll take you right to a tutorial that'll show you how to easily learn X3D viewing in just a couple of minutes. Super easy to do. Turns your monitor into a giant ViewMaster, and the people who get it, get it. It's so cool. You're going to love it when you finally get it. And you know, we have viewers as young as 8 years old. Jimmy Bob comes to mind, who have learned this and apply it regularly, not only on this channel, but to places all over the internet where X3D viewing is available. And now I'd like to talk to you a little bit about some of the classifications you're going to be hearing. One of them is grade A. A stands for artifact. That's an identified artifact because of its non-fractal mathematics. That's explained elsewhere in some of our videos. And then there's AC grade. That would be an artifact candidate that has some non-fractals present to it or other things that indicate that it might be intelligently made, but we can't really nail it down just yet. And then another one is the OOGI, or object of geological interest. And that shows geologic or erosional properties that are very, very strange. Things that, as far as I know, we haven't seen the same type of erosion here on Earth. So it makes it an object of interest, but it's not necessarily an artifact. You know, there's been quite a big to-do about this doorway that was found on Mars in, I think, 3466. And there have subsequently been two other doorways found in the same pan, or GMAC, done by Neville Thompson. Now, the fact of the matter is that when it conforms to other geology in the site, I like to use Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually the best. And so I would assign this to being a geological formation, an OOGI, if you will. As you can see by Nev's accurate NASA measurements on this image, it is 44.8 centimeters tall, 26.2 centimeters wide, and that translates to 17.6 inches tall by 10.3 inches wide. That would have to be a very small person who made that opening in all three instances. Now, I'm not discounting the possibility that there could be miniature Martians on the surface of Mars, or more accurately, under the surface of Mars. But you know, until I see really ironclad evidence in terms of bodies or pictures or living examples that are just irrefutable, I think it's easier to just steer towards the geological reference, because folks, there are more than enough anomalies on Mars to keep us busy, genuine anomalies. We're also going to take a look at Alan Walker and some of the finds that he dredged up on Percy 344. His channel is live linked down below in the description. I urge you, if you're not familiar with his channel, to check it out and see if it isn't something that you would like to subscribe to. You'll also find live links for MarsFan.net, our ever-growing site for Martian anomalies, and of course RamiBarilan.com, where this elite researcher presents his findings. Worth a look. So anyway, that's enough talk. Let's go ahead and dive in and see what we have today, starting with a great OOGI. We'll start off today with what I'm calling an OOGI Dreidel. An OOGI, of course, is an object of geological interest. And there it is inside the yellow target. This reminds me of a dreidel, the little spinning top that is used during Hanukkah. And, seems like a geological formation to me, except that it's formed apparently with four sides that come to a point there in front and has that kind of decorative sphere work in the back. But I don't think it's an artifact. I think we're looking at an OOGI here. But I sure haven't seen anything like it here on Earth. And while we're at it here in 3403, let's take a look at another little object over there on the right inside the green target. What's interesting to me is that gray portion appears to be a perfect sphere. But then look at the black portion. It appears to be a perfect cylinder. That sphere appears to be right on the end of that cylinder. So, what is it? Researcher San Gothic shared this one with us just the other day on our Facebook site. Let's take a closer look. People often want to know, why are the colors like that? Well, first of all, let me tell you, this is a color-balanced image, and that is the actual color, our famous Martian bluestone. A beautiful triangular block with rectangular incisions along the edge, and it looks like a base even coming off the left side. And very often people will say, well, Dave, you missed this and you missed that in this image. Well, let's take care of that right now. As you look at each one of these arrows, you will find a non-fractal artifact pointed out by each one. I particularly like the one in the front center because it appears to be some kind of metallic gimbal reflecting the sunlight. Here's something my friend Terry Burnett pointed out from 1429. And as a matter of fact, besides the object he pointed out, we have an entire area of interest circled above. Let's take a closer look. The arrow is pointing out what I'm calling Terry's helmet up there in the right-hand corner. And you'll notice that it has a sawtooth pattern to it above and below. A matching pattern. Very strange. But there's a lot more going on in this image, as perhaps many of you can already see. Moving clockwise from the 1 o'clock position, we have a kind of a U-shaped object with right-angle beadwork. Then right below that, something that has a sunburst pattern, a regular sunburst pattern, and then to the left, a perfect square. And then to the upper left, a large rectangular piece that, to my eyes, is not geological. And then to the right of that, what appears to be a disc sticking out of a rectangular opening. And of course, the elephant in the room is this big rectangular box right down in front there with these objects sticking out of it. Is that natural? No, I don't believe it is. I believe this entire hillside is a clutter, a debris field of structural elements. Moving just a bit to the right, we have these very interesting objects sitting right on the skyline. we have this large rectangular block sticking up there, and you'll notice on the left side there's a sunburst pattern, is what I call it, or it almost looks like teeth in a gear. This is a motif that we find again and again in structural elements on Mars. We have no idea what it signifies, but it continues to show up. And this U-shaped piece, how exactly did that form? And if it is a natural formation, why is it so symmetrical? And why does it have a uniform lip around the top edge? And then, of course, this piece down at the bottom right, obviously manufactured. A nice clean 90-degree angle with a lip and a recessed area in the center of it. I sure wish that block in front was out of the way so we could have a better look at this thing. This is some X3D work by my colleague Alan Walker over there in Scotland, and this appears in one of his very recent videos at Mars the Second Genesis. Now the live link down below will take you directly to this video. But this is what I'm calling an ogive marker. An ogive simply meaning the shape that we use, for example, in nose cones in rocket ships. This appears to be a marker. It's, of course, very symmetrical, has that centerpiece, a circular piece on top, and then the four circular pieces arranged in a diamond at the bottom. We don't know for certain what it might be, and it is blurry because it's off at a distance, but this is a great capture by Alan Walker. I know that foreground is a little kind of in your face, but that's the only way we could present this. And again, this is Alan Walker's work from Mars the Second Genesis, and there are a bunch of very interesting things in this image, particularly the rounded blocks, which let me detail for you. This block was particularly interesting to me because not only does it have that beautifully rounded shape, but you'll notice that right-angled cut towards the back and going along the bottom. Now, does that mean it's sitting on that rock, or has it been cut and fit to that rock? I don't know. But this obviously is a worked block. And of course there's this other block right down there on the left, beautifully shaped, nicely fitted to the stones in back of it, despite the obvious cataclysm that hit these things. Many of them have remained close together. That's pretty impressive. Kind of like the stonework at Sacsayhuaman down in Peru. And did you notice this beadwork or chainwork down at the bottom? Filigree work? Is that a chapiter? A column top? A decorative lintel? Really hard to tell. Someday we'll have boots on the ground and we can simply go over there and start digging and find out what this is. But this seems to me very clearly to be the remains of a structure. And before we leave this image, another evenly divided rectangular block over there on the top right, and then the arrow to the left points at another rectangular block which on its left end turns into a cylinder with a perfectly circular opening. And of course everything in this image is part of a former structure. Here's one that Nev shared with me the other day from his beautiful GMAC of 3397 through 3399, right there in the center. Let's zoom in. And there you have a super clean right angle framework with even some cross pieces in the center. In another part of the same image, we have what I'm calling a puffball up there inside the box. But before we get to that, take a look at this. Is this block work from a collapsed wall? Or is it just a natural formation that happened to crack in perfect 90-degree angles and perpendicular angles to each other? I suppose it can happen, but jury's out on this one. This reminded me of the puffball mushrooms I used to find in the forest in Iowa, where I grew up, and you'd flick those or puff on them, and there'd be a little cloud of spores come out, looked like smoke. But as I think about it, it even looks a lot like the skeleton of a sea urchin. Before we leave this one, be sure to notice those two beautiful rectangular blocks in the top left. And while we're talking about frameworks, here's a beautiful one that Rami found recently, and he calls it a bridge. Now, we have no idea what it might have been at one point, but I think the average person can look at this and tell that it's not natural. Here's another one that Rami found in 3480, and I'm attracted by that bunch of stuff over on the left. It really looks like tattered metal to me, but obviously there are other things going on here as well. The main thing is this curved plate with markings on it here inside the box, and obviously stone doesn't curve like this. This to me speaks of being a metallic plate that was bent either in the cataclysm or bent for its form or function in a factory or whatever it was used for. What also grabbed my attention are these markings on the back wall. Are those carvings? I think they might be, but who knows? Now, by the way, you'll want to check out RamiBarilan.com, where Rami has all his amazing finds listed for you. It's a great place to spend a while if you want to get familiar with some real strangeness on Mars. We'll wrap things up today with an intriguing find by researcher Sarah Runcie, who has been at it a long time, and Sarah often comes up with things that really make you scratch your head. This one is no exception. See there in the box? Now that thing is a good ways off, so I'm going to say it's probably at least 4 feet tall. It's kind of hard to look at this and not think about the front entrance to a cathedral with the Gothic arches and the right angles and just all the design work. It really does look structural, doesn't it? The clincher for me, though, is this entire section back here on the right. Clearly non-fractal, amazing design work. Is it all of one piece? Well, it appears to be. It looks like a wall section, perhaps, that's fallen away. Hard to say, but a wonderful find by Sarah Runcie. Well, there you have it. This episode today was a little bit longer than usual because I'm headed up to the Sunrise Command for the rest of the summer. So there won't probably be any episodes for 2-3 weeks at least. So this will have to do. Hey, if you want to help out this channel, click that join button. Find out how easy and inexpensive it is to keep this work going without all the ads. It sure helps me out, and even if you can't do that, please maybe leave a thumbs up on the way out. That helps me a whole bunch with YouTube. And for all you proud weirdos out there, you know who you are. Stay safe and stay weird. This is your buddy Dave over at Mars X3D. Be well.